If you drink exogenous ketones, your body won't make its own. Not true. When do I see patients needing a ketone supplement? Let me show you the 6 top ways that I see it in my practice. The first is when patients go to start the ketogenic diet. Many times they're healthy enough that their body will make ketones within 48 hours of dropping those carbohydrates. But many of my patients have been insulin resistant for years, and their storage of glucose is abundant. It can be days, and I'm saying 10 to 15 days before we see ketones show up in their body. And that's with the strictest of plans. That's not what I want. I want them quickly feeling the benefits of this chemistry set. So we start with ketones. By swallowing ketones, they end up in circulation and they start to signal the body that it's in ketosis. This trick or hack is not forever, but really helps boost those insulin-resistant patients on to a path that is sustainable. When those ketones are in circulation, they talk to your liver. They signal the liver to make more ketones. This is what jumpstarts their efforts to open up those fat cells and start losing weight like the rest of the patients. And even if you're not insulin resistant, when people go onto the ketogenic diet, that keto flu can be off-putting. So you can prevent that by having ketones in circulation before you start. The second place that I push patients to use supplements is when they are already lean. If we are working on a problem and the patient is lean, whether the patient is lean on the outside but has fatty problems on the inside, or if they're elder with a low amount of muscle mass and a smaller amount of fat mass, we push them into a state of ketosis by using supplements. This circulating ketone protects the body from breaking down those very coveted muscles. We do not want to sacrifice their muscles as we repair the problems they're working on, and we can do that as long as ketones are in circulation. Once that ketogenic state is present, a state of ketosis perpetuates the production of ketones, and it does it with pretty good efficiency, even when you're lean. These patients have been discouraged in the past because they've tried things, fallen off the wagon, and then they stay in a slump. We know that if we present ketones to their circulation, that liver kicks in and ketones beget ketones. That slump is much shorter when we add that chemistry from exogenous ketones and help them not stay stuck. Speaking of a slump, when I have a low mood in the afternoon or when my energy sinks in the afternoon, I'll supplement with afternoon ketones to lift my energy and to improve my brain focus. I don't do this every day, but if I'm in a season where the afternoons seem a little longer, I reach for ketones, and within minutes, I have energy in my system and a brain that is much sharper. Next, we use ketones after they've cheated. Most of my patients aren't on a fad diet. They aren't using the ketogenic diet to take off 5 pounds. They're here for the long haul, to reverse their blood pressure, to improve their risk of heart disease, and to get that mass of body gone. So this is a long game, but they've been comforting with carbohydrates for quite some time. So when they have a bad day and they return to a habit, I want that bad day to be over and then back on the path the next day. Using supplements to restore that ketogenic state has been a powerful shift, looking at the average days in a year they spent in ketosis. Supplements greatly improve the long game for these patients. Next is another reason that I use exogenous ketones. I suppress hunger with these supplements as well. Now, I also suppress hunger with sauna or exercise, and they work great. But sometimes I'm headed into an event where I know my weaknesses are there, temptations are there. And if I'm hungry, walking into a landmine of temptations, I'll fall off the wagon. I can suppress hunger and make better choices if I'm walking into that lion's den with ketones in circulation. So I will use supplements to bridge that situation and come out better than I would have without them. But the most important reason that I made these ketones and put them on the market is I help patients heal from very serious diseases like cancer, with brain injuries, and with seizure disorders. Those serious diseases like cancer, seizures, and autoimmune disorders cannot be reversed or helped without a high amount of ketones and a great Dr. Boz ratio, meaning we want the blood sugars lower and we want the ketones higher. In order to get these outcomes, people can do okay for a short time, but your body adjusts. And many times these patients are very sick and we don't have that lead time to train their metabolism to do as well as it could. By supplementing the ketones, we improve their healing rate and they feel better. Both of these are a win for improving their health and their health span despite their severe illnesses. If you want the evidence from the information I was talking about, you can find those articles linked in the show notes. Let's move on to options for what you can buy. So for practical purposes, there are 3 options for ketones on the market right now. The newer molecule called 1,3-butanediol that is said to be a precursor of ketones, and that also is very expensive and not the best tasting. My goal when producing ketones was to get a high amount of ketones in each serving. When comparing the brands that do make beta-hydroxybutyrate salts, which are the powdered form of exogenous ketones, our brand has the highest component of ketones per serving. And of the flavors we make, the raspberry has the most. That was the first one that I made. And that tartness you taste in the raspberry flavor is in part how we got away with that. The other flavors still have the highest on the market, but are much easier on the palate. When taking these, we want you to sip on the salts. First of all, if you swallow a bunch of them at once, it can cause diarrhea. And the supplement didn't get in circulation, which is where we need it. As you take in these supplements, we know that the energy lasts for a couple of hours, and that if you dose it correctly, you can really keep your ketones high over several hours by sipping on them. My favorite of the products I make is the liquid BHB. This is beta-hydroxybutyrate, period. There's nothing else in it. It's not made into a salt, and it's in its original form of a liquid. It is the most absorbable. It is powerful in how well it raises ketones and keeps them there for the life of that molecule. It's also very sour. As I have adapted my palate over the years, sweet tastes are not as rewarding to me, and the sour ones are more attractive. It's where this product got its name. Pucker Up is sour. In fact, it tastes like a very advanced or concentrated lemon juice. I add it to bubble water and sip on it throughout the afternoon when I want a supplement. I find that folks love the flavors at the beginning of their keto journey, but will advance to that sour taste eventually. I stepped into this space to produce products that I can trust and ones that actually raise ketones. So I push you to test whatever ketone product you're taking by measuring your ketones before you take it, and then measure it 15 minutes and 30 minutes after you take the supplement. You should see a rise. And if you don't, it's not worth the money. I also know that they're expensive. They're expensive to make and they're expensive for you. But if you want a 10% discount, Amazon Subscribe and Save gives you a 10% off every time. We'll see you there.